Hi, everybody. Tina Campbell, the New York Regional Partner of Master Networks. We're a national networking organization, and we're here to help entrepreneurs and business leaders to grow and pivot during this difficult time and beyond. And what we're doing with Lunch and Learns is we're looking to relay tips, techniques, and tactics for really transitioning through this new norm. And today we have a friend of mine, Kevin Tunney, and he's going to talk about the art of long-term care planning. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Very good, Tina. How are you today?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm interested to learn more because this is something, as I'm getting older, has been very interesting to me. Let me pull up your PowerPoint here and get the
Okay.
slideshow going.
Hey, before we start, Tina, I just want to say thank you very much. I mean, what you do here with the Master Networks is invaluable. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Social distancing doesn't have to be social isolation. All
Nope.
right. And
And
this is a great way to stay connected and use the time that people have now in a positive way. So thanks
oh,
again.
good. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so that's me. I'm with New York Life. I got my contact information here, and it's going to be at the end as well. All right, so go ahead, Tina.
Okay.
Um, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. All right, when it comes to long-term care planning, I like to think about what I really do is I help families stay together. All right, by letting them be themselves. All right. If you're a spouse, that's what you want to be, not a caregiver. If you're a son or a daughter, same thing. You don't want to be a caregiver. The most important thing, you see that little up in the right-hand corner. What's your plan? We're going to keep saying those three words or think those three words, but no plan really is a plan. And what that means is that you or somebody in your family is the caregiver. So here's my why. Okay, so why do I do this? Why do I believe in it? Well, quite frankly, I've had personal experience. All right, my grandfather, long time ago, over 50 years. All right, and what I will tell you is that the family impact in that situation was more than a financial impact. It tore our family apart. All right, and I'm living it now with my mom, who's in her 80s, and without it, she would be foregoing the care, and those consequences are not pretty. So I pledged to myself, all right, that it wasn't going to happen, and I have it for myself and my wife, and I want to help others do it for their loved ones. Go ahead, Tina, advance. So when we talk about long-term care planning, all right, what I like to do, okay, and this is more about why, okay, is really there's two ways to think. All right. There's the what if way and there's the even if way. So we talk about what if. Well, that's going to create worry, doubt. Okay. Hey, you think the worst. What if this happens? Oh my God, that. It leads to fear and depression, and no positive action gets taken as a result. My preference and how I approach planning, all right, think about it as even if. This is where you want to be, because that creates calm. All right. Even if this happens, I'm prepared. I got a plan. You're taking positive action. And now you're protected from your fears. Go ahead, Tina. So, all right. With any luck, and I'm sure, okay, that many of us, okay, are going to age gracefully and live a nice long age. But the keys, okay, to aging gracefully and peacefully is health, family, social relationships, your financial security, and peace of mind, and long-term care. If you don't have a plan, it affects each and every single one of those. Go ahead. So why do it? Okay. What I try to impress upon people, all right, is it's really not just about insurance. Oh, it's insurance. I'm not interested. No. Okay. It's more about control. All right. Hey, I'm in control. I'm in the driver's seat. Somebody else is not making the decisions. Um, I'm where I want to be. I'm at home. Yes, it's protecting my retirement, but it also protects your family and your peace of mind. So depending on who you talk to, they may order these things differently, okay? But I haven't met anybody yet that doesn't say that all of these are not important. Go ahead. So what is long-term care? All right. Technically, the definition of it, and this is important, okay, because this is how it's defined. And look at the words. It's help from others. It's everyday tasks, okay? It's eating, bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, continence, all right? Think of it as these are normal daily activities, and it also includes the cognitive issues,
Mhm.
right? And you know what? It's normal. This is not unusual, all right? So as we age, this is a normal outcome, okay? During the day, we may need some help with some of these daily activities. But it also could be, part of a treatment, some type of illness or injury, a fall, whatever it is, but it's quite normal. Go ahead. As a result, okay, the question is, well, am I going to need it? Yes, I really seriously believe so. In fact, pretty much everybody is eventually going to need help, okay, at some point. And these are the statistics, all right? You look at people 65, and as you get older, it gets even higher. Go ahead. So, okay, the question really becomes is what do you do? What's your plan? So we ask four basic questions, and you can see that we've got a little quadrant kind of down below, all right? So it's like a 4 box. And they ask the questions who, where, how, and the solution. So you follow it kind of clockwise. So what's the who? Who's going to provide the care? All right. Where do I want it? Well, how am I going to deal with it? How am I going to pay for it? And if that's the case, what's the solution? So let's take a quick walk through these. So the who, all right. When we talk about the who, these again are questions that you're asking yourself. Now, what's important is you can either be a manager or a caregiver. And which would you prefer to be? In other words, do you want to be the one saying, okay, we need you on Tuesday from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or do you want to be the one actually providing the care, helping them in and out of bed, out of the tub, with the bathroom, so on and so forth? And, okay, if it's not, all right, a caregiver, do you want a family member to do that? So think about some of those tasks, all right? Do you want your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law to be the one helping you with bathing or something like that? And maybe that's your plan, okay? But have you really discussed it with them? And what does it mean to them? Next slide. So here's some facts, all right? And remember, without a plan, it's going to default to your family. All right, what's the average age? Well, it's about 45, and sorry to say, it's mostly females. So typically, all right, it could be the daughter or the daughter-in-law. That's about 75%, and they're uncompensated. All right, so it's the family member that feels guilty or that has no other choice that has to do it. And how much time do they spend on it? Look at that, 24 hours. That's a lot of time. Well, look at the next one, spouse or partner. Oh, I feel better, right? Okay, that's my wife or my husband taking care of me 45 hours. So that makes me feel a lot better. But let's also look at the fact that how does that work? Maybe that works at 55. Maybe that works at 60. But at 75, 80, are you going to be able to do that? Go ahead, next slide. Then there's the where. Okay, so there's really two questions here. Okay, the question, okay, the first one you see the highlighted. Okay, well, where does the care actually occur? So it can be in your home, it can be in an assisted living facility, or it could be in a nursing home. But the key question is, where do you want this to happen? So again, it's be in control. You make the choices, not somebody make the choices for you. Next slide. And here's the facts, okay? 80% of the people today, and it makes sense, they're getting care at home. Do you know anybody? In fact, my mother, okay, has told me she will disown me, okay, if I put her in a nursing home. She wants to be at home. She's independent. This is what she wants. She just needs a little bit of help. I don't know anybody, okay, that doesn't feel the same way. And hence, that's why you have the statistic. Next slide. So then the question becomes, all right, so I got an idea who's going to do it and where I want it, but how am I going to pay for it? And, you know, it basically, how are you going to finance this? Next slide. This is a little bit now, we're going to look at a couple of slides quickly, and it's looking at the financial impact. So again, it's more than just the financial impact, but let's understand that. These are hourly rates, and the important thing to remember about long-term care, okay, is it's a national industry, okay, and prices vary, okay, because it's a service or a wage. So think about people's wage in down south, or the cost of real estate, or the cost of real estate taxes. All right. The national average tends to be lower than what it is in our area. And sad to say, but true, we're in the high rent district. So just to give you an idea, the average cost of a home care provider is close to $25 an hour. And that translates, okay, to about $5,000 a month. So you can see how this thing can start to add up. Next slide. And then you do the same thing. Okay, let's look at the other. Remember, we said home, assisted living, or nursing home. Well, assisted living is even more. Okay, assisted living, the average locally is about $7,000. So you see the range. That's $7,000 a month. Just do the math. Multiply that by 12. Very large number. Next slide. Finally, the nursing home. Okay, nursing home is significantly more. All right, and you look at that number. Okay, that's about $12,000 a month. Okay, a very, very significant number. Next slide. So there's some averages out there, and we can look at statistics, and you can Google it. The important thing is, you know, make sure it's for your area, where you live, where you're going to get care. But the average is close to 200,000. That's per person. Okay, now husband, wife, well, just multiply that by 2. And the other thing, given this significant number, all right, this is an after-tax number. This number is literally what you pay the care provider. That could be an individual or agency, okay? That could be a nursing home, or that could be an assisted living facility. But that's after taxes. If I'm taking this out of a 401k, what happens? Well, the government's got their hand out first. So I might have to take out $250,000, pay taxes of 70,000, and then give the 180 to the agency or the location. So you can see this is significant, and this is one of the biggest concerns when we start talking about retirement care planning. Next slide. So we start talking about solutions. All right, so we know it's costing a lot, but okay, the government, all right, they'll help us out, right? There's Medicare, there's Medicaid. What about the family? Or it could pay out of pocket, or you could have insurance. Let's take a look at those. Next slide. Well, generally there's 3 ways, okay? Government, you, or insurance, or it could be you and insurance. So you can do a little bit of a mix. Next slide. But what's the truth? Okay. Well, remember we started this off by saying, what is long-term care? Okay, it's basic daily activities, all right? It's not, okay, skilled care. It's I need help getting in and out of bed, so on and so forth, getting up, transferring, dressing, bathing, etc. Your health insurance that you have through Medicare and so on, all right, that's skilled care. Or going to the rehab facility, all right, it's skilled care. These things are covered. The hospital's covered, the doctor's covered. Okay, those things are covered. But what about long-term care? It's not covered. Okay, so your medical insurance isn't going to cover you. Next slide. All right, well, what about Medicare? Sad to say, okay, but Medicare, remember the last three letters, Medicare, what basically everybody's eligible for at age 65, it does not pay for long-term care. There is one instance where it pays a little bit, but it's nothing. Okay, if you get put in the hospital and stay for 3 nights, okay, so I'm in the hospital, it's a 3-day stay, usually some type of operation, surgery, whatever, okay, and I come out, all right, and I'm sent home. Medicare will cover the first 20 days. That's it, 20 days. That is nothing, okay? Then days 21 to 100, there's a copay involved. It's like $180, okay, a day. So it's not free. They'll cover it. But then after that, that's it. Nothing. You're on your own, okay? 100 days is how much? That's 3 months. And the important thing is that if it is decided that you are not getting any better, so in other words, the acute care, what Medicare is covering is they're covering your illness or injury till you get better. But if it's decided anywhere through on that, well, I'm really sorry, but the back's not getting any better, or the cognitive issues, they're not going away. Medicare stops immediately. So they don't go days 21 to 100. It's done, stopped. All right. Next slide. All right. And the other thing is that, a lot of people think, well, geez, I was going to rely on Medicare. It's not good. No, more than half people think it will not do it. Next slide. How about Medicaid? Again, last 3 letters, AID, Medicaid, not Medicare. Well, Medicaid does cover long-term care. However, all right, Medicaid is really designed for people without any assets. Okay, it's designed for the poor, the less fortunate. So there's strict asset and income eligibility requirements, and they vary by state. Okay, and okay, they since they don't want you to have assets, they'll let you stay in your home for a while, but they're going to recover their money. In other words, the government's going to get their money back one way or the other. So when both spouses die, guess who owns the house? Guess who's going to take their money back? All right. And it's a limited choice of care. So in other words, it's not your choice. It's where there is an available bed, and they'll put you in a nursing home. So it's not the nursing home with the really nice view of the ocean. Now, there's some good Medicaid facilities, but it's a question of availability. All right. And the majority of people, quite frankly, in nursing home these days are Medicaid patients, because that's the only option that they have. You go to a nursing home where there's an available bed. Next slide. So just give you some idea, okay? Basically, you can't have any money. So if the husband and wife are on Social Security and you have a small pension, even a small pension, okay, what's going to happen? You're not going to be eligible for Medicaid, okay? What you're basically going to do is you're going to hand over that pension check, okay, to Medicaid when they put you in the nursing home. So they're going to draw down your assets. Next slide. So, we talked about different ways. This is a little bit of a visual, and what we're trying to basically say is what happens if you do this out of pocket. So let's say you do have some type of annual income, all right? Well, it's going to reduce that significantly. And what does that mean? Well, it's going to impact your lifestyle. You worked all your life. You earned what you have, okay? You're planning on a pleasant lifestyle. Well, this is going to have an impact on it, all right? Particularly if it's coming out of your annual income. What about the 401k? Well, it's, the qualified personal assets. Qualified basically just means that it's subject to income tax. So your IRA, you didn't pay tax on the growth, you didn't pay tax on that income, but the government wants their money, okay? So like I said before in that example, well, I got to pay 180, but I got to pay taxes. So I got to take out 250, then I got to, give the government 70. So anyway, it's a big number. And the money that you have, well, we have $1 million. Okay. All of a sudden, okay, isn't $1 million anymore. And if you just take it out of savings, well, we'll take it out of the bank account. Well, there's no leverage whatsoever there. Okay. Nothing. All right. You're literally depleting your savings. Yeah, there's some other options that people will talk about. And they all have their drawbacks: a reverse mortgage, selling your land, help from the kids. Basically, the idea is you're going to run out of money sooner than you want. Next slide. So there's different options, okay, in terms of if you were to get long-term care insurance. You can either do the traditional option, okay, which is a lower monthly premium, or you can do an asset financed option, which is a hybrid. These are relatively new. It really depends upon the individual. So it's an individual decision. That's what's right for you. What's right for one individual may not be right for the other. Next slide. Let me give you an idea. Okay. The other thing that people say, all right. So, okay, they listen to you. They think, yeah, I get it. Okay. But I'm too young. Okay. I'm going to wait. Well, it doesn't really make sense, particularly, okay, if you think that this is the route you want to go. Why? Well, because you're going to pay more for the same exact thing. So here's an example: a 55-year-old versus 65-year-old. Exact same coverage. Look what happens. They pay more. Next slide. But what's the other thing? So, all right, I'm going to wait. Well, I'll just pay more. That's okay. I'll pay more. I don't mind. I'll just pay more. Okay. But what's the other thing? Well, okay, long-term care insurance, like any other insurance, you have to be underwritten for it. Okay. So the insurance company has to agree that you are a good risk. Not that it's never going to happen to you, but it's not going to happen next year or the year after. And it can, and you'll still be covered, but they're really trying to assess the risk. So you need to be underwritten. But what happens as you get older, the risk increases. And if you can't get underwritten, then there's fewer and fewer options. So you're back to I got to pay out of my own pocket, or, I've got to transfer some assets and do some other things. Next slide. So let me give you an example, right? That was our standalone. We said the 55-year-old male, okay, $156 a month. Look how much coverage. That's leverage, okay? You're sharing the risk with the insurance company. Less than $200 a month, okay, gives you $180,000 worth of benefit. Significant difference. Next slide. And depending, okay, there's some additional incentives, all right? So for example, all right, just like your auto insurance and anything else, let's say you don't want to pay monthly and you want to save some money and pay once a year. Well, you can save about 7.5%. The other good thing is New York State. So for those of us that are New York State residents and pay New York State taxes, New York State, okay, is going to fund 20% of the premium. And they do this through a tax credit. So yeah, it's once a year, and it's not based upon income. Okay, so regardless of your income, whatever the premium amount is, multiply that by 20%, you get that credit taken off of your New York State taxes. And then most couples, they both want it, okay? Because they're both the same age or similar situations. Well, it makes all the sense in the world if you're a couple to apply together. Why? Because it's another 25%. Well, look at the difference. We started out, okay, was it expensive? Well, I don't think so relative to the coverage, but you started out at almost $2,000. Now you're down to $1,000 a month. Next slide. So, what's important to keep in mind? All right. I started this thing off by talking about my why. Why do I do it? Okay. What's it all about? Okay. It's not just about the financial benefits, the lifestyle, your savings, that kind of thing. But it's also the family and friends. Remember, let your kids be your kids. Let them come over to see mom or dad or grandma or grandpa. We don't want them being the caregiver. Same thing with your spouse. And if you're the same age, the spouse just is not practical long term. And it's peace of mind. All right. You can sleep at night knowing I have the plan. All right. I'm in control versus others deciding for me. Remember, we talked about Medicare and Medicaid. And Medicaid, yeah, they'll pay for it, but what are they going to do? Well, they're going to decide where. Okay, so not at home. It's going to be a nursing home. And they're going to decide which nursing home. Not the nice one by the beach, but this one in upstate. Okay. And then the other issues associated with it. But again, it's so much more. And as I told you with my own personal example, yeah, the financial impact was one thing, but the other two, okay, what it can do to the family, what it can do to you, all right, mentally, to you and to your family and to the stress. What are we going to do about mom? She's getting old. Oh my God, she can't qualify. Now what? Everybody in the family is going to be scrambling. Next slide. So here's what people who have it say, you know, hey, if they didn't have it, all right, they would opt for less care. Why? Because they couldn't afford it. Well, they have to rely on family and friends. And, quite frankly, we just wouldn't be able to do it. Next slide. So the key questions, the key takeaways that I hope you guys take away, all right, you got to have a plan. All right. So ask yourself, who is your who person, and share it with them. Do they know, okay, that this is your expectation of them, okay? And how are you going to fund it if you don't have a plan, all right? And then think about, okay, not having a plan. What does that do to your family? And what does that do to the retirement plan that you worked your whole life for, all right? So it's important to have this written plan. And it's pretty simple. You saw it. It's 4 grid. Just write it out. It's really not that bad. And that's what I do when I sit down and talk to people. Next slide. So the sooner the better. Okay. So we can set up an appointment and, this entire process, okay, can be done virtually. All right. There's nothing that has to be done in person. It can all be done, okay, using what we're doing here, using Zoom. Medical records can be retrieved electronically, this entire process. But you've got to think about what's important to you, and you've got to think about your goals. And then we sit down and talk. Next slide. So I thank you. All right. Like I said, Tina, thank you so much. This was a great, great opportunity. And I hope, this is a help. I hope this gives people some information, gives them some food for thought, makes them think about, okay, their plan, their self, and quite frankly, their family.
So Kevin, I was reliving my situation with my parents through your entire presentation. And my parents were really good people, but didn't believe in paying for good advice. Maybe generationally, right? But
Yeah.
I think that we have so much at our fingertips, information. We have we have people, we have people that we can talk to, that will just sit down with us and be, again, I like to think of it as wealth planning, right? Because
Yeah.
you're not taking away, like you're protecting,
Right.
your plan. And I don't think people understand how incredibly important this is. It's just, I wish we don't have time to go into my story, but I was all of those things. My sister and I were all of those things that you're talking about, whether it was a caregiver, having to make tough decisions to put somebody into a nursing home. Like, I love what your mom said, I'm going to kill you if you put me in a nursing home. What about when you have no choice?
Very true.
I mean, and the emotions that brings up. So I just have to tell you, if my parents had had a plan like this, I would have been able to carry out the rest of the plans they wanted me to.
Right.
But because, which was to educate the grandchildren with
Mhm.
whatever they had left behind. What ended up happening was it all went for care.
Right.
So I know that they wanted certain things that we were just not able to do, and it just makes the as in my case, the children of the person feel terrible because you cannot complete their wishes, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
So because there was no planning, and I tried to tell people this, that a decision, to do nothing is a decision to do nothing. It really is. I learned that a long time ago. You
Yeah.
could say, well, I'm not sure, whatever. You're making a decision at that point to do nothing.
Right.
And all it takes is, like, what would you say as far as your average time that you sit with people on this?
You know what? The most important thing that first we want to convince them, kind of understand what their situation is. But I'd say after about 2 meetings, and a meeting can, go anywhere from a half hour to an hour. Of course, it can be longer,
Right.
okay, because some people have a lot of questions, and that's absolutely fine. But after a couple of meetings, okay, and like I said, we can do it with Zoom, but after a couple of
Right.
meetings, you're going to know, okay, first off, will you qualify? And second off, what kind of plan is right for you and
Right.
what's it going to cost?
Right.
So it does not take a long time.
Right.
And, it's so important. It's one, I do retirement planning, and it's like a pie with slices. Long-term care is one slice of the pie.
Right.
Okay. And you can't sit down and, we could spend all this time going through your investment portfolio and all the rest of that stuff. And then you have no protection against this type of an event.
Right. So if you almost think about it, like one slice of the pie, if not, finished and done with, can eat up the rest of the pie.
Absolutely.
It's like, I
Absolutely.
mean, seriously, I understand completely.
Yeah. And you don't have to, let's put it this way. Okay. Now, a pie, you got to bake all at once, right? But, this isn't a pie that, if you're going to enjoy it, and retirement is about enjoyment, you don't have to eat it all at once. Okay.
Right.
So you can do one, two, slices. All right. But you've got to understand that certain things, okay, are going to become more difficult
Right.
the older and the more that your
Right.
health changes.
You can't rush out and get this when, right before you're putting, before someone's going into a nursing home or using Medicare or Medicaid. This
Yeah.
has to be thought about at a much earlier age. So thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me. I wish, I wish I had met you, years ago, but, just, you know, there's nothing we can do and we have to go forward. So hopefully people will like it, just listen to a little bit of this and
Right.
just want to educate themselves. That's what it comes down to. Educate yourself and get to know people and talk to people that know better than you. People always think they know, but they do not know until they get into the situation. And there's nothing we can tell them until sometimes they just have to learn the hard way. So anyway, so that's what we're trying to prevent, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do appreciate kind of what you do, like I said at the start. Okay.
Oh,
It's
Absolutely.
absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you, dear. But it's to keep everybody just moving forward. So that's what we're trying.